This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, welcoming you to another informative episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 322. On today's show, we're going to be meeting with Bill Hoffman, otherwise known as W.C. Hoffman, as he writes many books. His newest book is coming out. It's called Loose Fletching. Bill also travels throughout multi-states in the Midwest, and he's got some great lessons learned about how he has hunted successful mature bucks in Ohio and in other states. Bill also has a podcast, which he calls Hoffman Hunting Heritage, and it's all about the hunting tradition that he learned and continues to learn in the great state of Michigan. Stay tuned. You're going to like the show. It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and I'm just freshly back from ATA, so I'm running like a crazy man, but I'm so excited to have Bill Hoffman on the show today. Bill is an author, he's a hunter, and all-around pretty good guy from Michigan. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Bruce, for that warm introduction, and the more you get to know me, that opinion might change, but we'll go with that for right now.
Hey, let's just, give me some slack, and I need some sleep, really. But let's start right out. I know you got a new book coming out next week, so I just want to put a plug and promo on that from the get-go, because we're going to talk about why Bill is a writer, but just tell people what's coming up pretty quick on your new release.
Sure. Most people know me as an author under my full name of W.C. Hoffman. It's not a pen name. Those are actually my initials. If you search Bill Hoffman, you'll find me. But if you look for W.C. Hoffman, under my name, W.C. Hoffman, especially for outdoors lovers, I have a collection of short stories and articles that I have written over the years and years that I've been an outdoor writer for various publications, national publications and statewide ones. I took all those articles and I lumped them together and I gave them a cohesive story, and it's called Loose Fletching, because I'm kind of like a loose arrow. You release me, you might not know where I'm going to end up, but I'm going to hit the target. So it kind of made sense. So Loose Fletchings by W.C. Hoffman, Volume 1, will be freshly published just as your listeners are enjoying our talk today.
Well, that's great. And I wanted to just get that out because I'm excited to have Bill on the show, because he does a lot of interesting things. By that, I mean, he has his own podcast called Hoffman Hunting Heritage. He's an author, but he also is a multi-state whitetail hunter. How does all that work in? Oh, plus you work a 40-hour job. How do you balance all that? Help me out here.
Well, Bruce, I think much like you, I've been blessed with a loving wife, and to know me is to love me, and it all starts at home. Having that support is a real big thing. I know when I said I'm going to write a book, she was like, "Do it," and I'm going to do a podcast, and so the support was there as well. So, of course, that would be step one, and I think step two is I have this insane creative drive. That's what fuels me. Some people are fueled by different things. Mine is creativity, and I always like to be working on a project. So whether that project is my books, my work as an ordained wedding officiant, my decade-long career in law enforcement that I have right now, whether it's music or podcasting, as long as I'm doing something creative and, something that people find entertaining, I'm happy and my soul is happy.
Well said, and well said. And parts of that I sure can reflect on being a little bit older than you are. I look back at my career and I always like to create things. Sometimes it didn't work out so well, but I like to create it. Some people call that entrepreneurship. Myself, I call it, it's just a personal passion with all my hunting and the writing and all the things that I have done. It's because I want to do it. And I think that's the best testament to who you and I are. And your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and those are the type of things also that round you out as an individual, I think, too. For example, example, when I put myself through college as a professional magician. I performed at kids' birthday parties all the way up to cruise ships and corporate functions. I was doing mind reading, hypnosis shows for big time clients in all industries. And, I don't do magic so much anymore, but that doesn't make me not a magician, So it's the more you can round yourself out as an individual, the more experiences you have in life. I really feel when you look back on it, the more full it is, the happier, at least me, I'll be.
Well, Bill, since this is a whitetail show, I think we better spin it up and let's talk about 2016 and hunting and in the various states that you hunt, and talk to me about some of your stories, the good and the bad and the ugly, if you will.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, 2016 I have been openly calling the year of the button buck. Because, oh my Lord, every state I hunted, almost every sit, I had little numbers just hanging out around me. It was just, I had button bucks like people have does. It was just insane. And, I'm not a huge antler chaser. I mean, of course I want to shoot big whitetails, but I like shooting, my fair share of does too. But this year I did two things, Bruce. I really, really, really concentrated on my skills as a traditional bow hunter, and I really went full bore into hunting with my recurve this year. That was the first thing. And the second thing was I really set some goals to shoot a mature buck. And I'm proud to say that I didn't shoot a mature buck this year, and I'm proud to say that I passed 17 shot opportunities on bucks that are going to walk. And that's not including the button bucks. 17 antlered bucks this year that I'm going to have the opportunity to chase next year because I didn't kill them this year. And that was different for me, and I'm pretty darn proud of that.
Well done. Let them grow, let them go, and let them grow is certainly a tagline a lot of people talk about. But as you both know, sometimes the heat of the moment, I've been guilty of it. I shot a wonderful deer in Iowa, first muzzleloader hunt. He came out, he's just a pretty deer with huge brow tines. His brow tines were as big as his G2s and G3s and G4s. And I shot him, and I was hunting with an outfitter, Judd Cooney and Sherry Yalborough, Iowa Trophy Whitetail Outfitters, and they said, "Do you realize what you did?" I said, "Yeah, I killed a pretty buck." They said, "With his genes and his frame and everything, he in 2 or 3 years he would have been way over 150. He was at 135 the way it was." And they said he had everything going for him, but it's your hunt, and just we kind of wanted to tell you. And I said, I understand that, but the way the light hit him, it was just, I wish I had a camera, because I would have taken more pictures than shot him. But it was just, and you've been there, the setting and everything was perfect, and you just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and as far as that goes, here's my answer, because a lot of people were like, "Man, you're crazy, that's the buck you passed up," and here's what I said. My heart was my kill or no kill decider, or shoot or no shoot my decider. If a buck came in and it got my heart going, and I got excited, and you know what? That's a trophy to me. But this year, only one, and this is the bad part of this year that only happened one time, and that big 140, I know exactly what he scored because the neighbor ended up killing him, but a 143-inch 8-point came in at 12 yards, and I sent an arrow down range that found its way directly over his back.
Oh, no.
But you know what? You live, you learn. It's, it was a clean miss. I'm super thankful for that. And, the guy that ended up killing this buck, it's his first big buck. And, he shot, his kid was with him when he shot it. So, I mean, I don't have, that's not my deer. You know what I mean? I don't hold any contempt in my heart for him. I'm super happy, good for him. And he's not the biggest deer on my property, but he did make my heart pump. So I had my shot this year. And, I'm blessed to know that next year I'm probably going to have a couple of them.
Well said. And, a lot of people like myself hunt multiple states. I have the time, and the show certainly affords me to do that. But how do you set up hunting multiple states? Because, is it private or public land? Kind of walk me through how you prepare and how you are preparing for the 2017 season.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to Michigan, it's my home state. I have a lot of connections here, and I do hunt some private land. Michigan has a huge amount of state land. The acreage is really, we have a lot of hunters too, but it's not easy to get lost and not be around anyone else. When I go out of state, I hunt Pennsylvania a lot. Again, that's a private land type situation where, but we have 90 acres of a family. My best man at my wedding. It's his family's property, but it butts up against I think it's called like the Hiawatha National Mountain Range. So we hunt a lot of public land out there too. So those two situations are, I've been going there for years. They're private land. When I hunt Ohio, I tell you what's made a huge difference for me, and it's a guide service called the Everyday Outdoorsman. The guy's name is Jake Hacker. He's been in the industry. He's been guiding for years and years. He was a guide in Africa at the age of 20. And when I hunt, I don't go to Ohio unless I'm going to be hunting with the Everyday Outdoorsman. And that's the name of his service. And that's turkeys and whitetails and his properties, Bruce. Oh my God, his properties are. I think 187 was taken. 165 was taken. He's just got massive whitetail bucks, and that's why I hunt with him. And his website is teohunts.com, so the Everyday Outdoorsman, teohunts.com. And I don't know what he's got booked up for. I think he's booked up for 2017 spring turkey, but I know he's probably still got some Ohio whitetail hunts. And the other great thing about it, Ohio is super affordable as a state to hunt. You're talking under $250, and you've got your license and your whitetail and your turkey tag.
Wow, that's something I didn't know. So listeners, repeat that for the listeners, especially people say, "Gee, I like to hunt other states."
Yeah, definitely look into Ohio. Great, big, huge Midwest bucks. They're kind of centrally located. If you're coming from Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, it borders like 8 or 9 states, and the hunting is so good there. And it's so affordable. That's the thing about Ohio. It's so affordable for an out-of-state hunter. I don't like them for football reasons, but for hunting reasons, they do pretty darn good. And
go ahead.
I think it's $125 for your hunting license, and then deer tags and turkey tags are like $25 each. So, but by the time you're said and done, you haven't paid the outfitter, and I'm not going to quote his prices because I don't know them off the top of my head, but they are on his website. But it's insanely affordable for an out-of-state hunt to hunt in Ohio. Just from what you're going to give the state, $200 for the chance at 160-plus inch whitetail. I'll make that deal every day.
Sounds great. And while we're talking about, how to connect, why don't you tell people how to connect with you on social media or your website?
Yeah, definitely. So most people in the outdoors industry are going to connect with me as either a writer or a podcaster. But there's a good place to go for both of those avenues. For as far as my writing goes and my website and everything, I mentioned earlier I write under the name W.C. Hoffman, and WCHoffman.com is basically a great catch-all. Of course, I'm very active on social media. Twitter and Facebook and email, and my podcast, Hoffman's Hunting Heritage, has its own website as well. But a great catch-all with links to everything is my author website, WCHoffman.com.
Thanks so much for that. And let's stay on traveling. Now, you're hunting with a recurve, traditional archer now. What else do you do prior to the hunt? Do you get on Google Earth, use topo maps for the areas you're going to hunt? Help me share that with the listeners.
Yeah, so, anytime we have so much available to us now, I'd be the first to admit I need to be better at reading topo maps. But at the same time, Google Earth or Bing.com, the satellite images are just absolutely fantastic. I think a lot of people miss out on actually calling the areas that you are hunting, actually calling either like some wildlife biologists or some state agencies. A lot of times if you're hunting a state park or some national forest lands, there's going to be a regional or a hub center around there, and you can call and you can speak to someone that is on that property every day and just kind of like, hey, where do people normally camp when they come out? Because a lot of times I'm pulling a pop-up camper, or where do a lot of guys, go in the woods? Where are some trailheads? You can get some GPS coordinates, and not all those people are hunters. So a lot of times, a lot of people go there. Well, if there's a lot of people going there, A, that may not be where you want to go, but B, if you work it right, you look, you can kind of, with the maps and everything, get your feet on the ground before you're actually ever there. And so that's basically what I do if I'm going, without a guide. Thankfully, when I go to Ohio, I got Jake with me, so Jake does all the legwork. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that, but the dude puts me on big deer, so I don't. He's worth every penny.
If you could share just a minute or two about what his expectations are for you when you go on an outfitted hunt for our listeners.
Yeah. So Jake is the everyday outdoorsman. He's the only outfitter I've ever hunted with. So I don't know if this is normal, if it's not normal. But Jay, here's the way I think that I hunt, and I think this would probably line up with what he thinks is, let's just talk about whitetails. It's an all-day sit. I've taken time off of my work, off of my writing, to come to Ohio, and I'm going to spend that time with my butt in the tree stand. And I try to sit sun up to sundown, and maybe there's a lunch break or a bathroom break, but I plan to hunt hard when I'm there, and that seems to line up with what he expects. Now, at the same time, I know he has had father and daughter groups come in. It is your hunt, I know some outfitters I've heard anyway up in Canada, they drop you off at sun up and they're not coming back to sundown. So you're sitting all day no matter what. Jake's not that way.
Agreed.
Yeah. Jake's not that way. He, if you want to come in and go to Chick-fil-A for lunch, he's there for you, But all the tree stands there are advanced takedown tree stands, which are super safe, super, secure, portable, and like crazy comfortable. So I don't know if you've ever sat in an advanced takedown tree stand, but that's the only tree stand I ever want to hunt out of ever again. So, and I like that about his operation.
I'm going to make a note of that right now. Advanced?
Yep, advanced takedown tree stands.
Like,
they were at, yeah.
Go ahead.
They have a great 3-piece system where you hang the stem and it has integrated ratchet straps, so they're super safe to put up. And they have a sling back seat, and they're just the best. And I have no problem saying that.
Well, and thank you for sharing, because one thing I like to do here at Whitetail Rendezvous, is take the best of class that people are using gear, be whatever it is, and then combine that with helping people, get the best tools they can to do the job so they can sit in that stand, especially during a rut, all day long and be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've been in the hunting industry for a while, so I don't know if you remember the good old days of the tree lounger stands that were, they were the size of a twin bed, but they were super comfortable. The advanced takedown tree stands is the only stand I've found since, then that, I can sit in no problem, 12 hours, sun up to sundown.
Let's switch it up a little bit and tell the listeners why you became an author and how the outdoors played a part in that.
Sure. Well, I've always wanted to be creative, like we talked about earlier, and the outdoors is my passion. So combining the two it simply made sense. And I'd always set out to, be an outdoor writer, to write, how-to articles and, tips and tricks and stuff like that. And I did I did that for years, for lots of national publications. I've been, graced to be a part of. But I never wrote a book, and I never wrote fiction. And, when it was time to write fiction for me, it made sense that it had an outdoor spin. Now, a little bit of a quick life story is that, my father, I wasn't raised by my father. He was out of the picture, but my uncle stepped in. And my uncle was a huge outdoorsman. And basically, my cousins were my brothers, and I was raised by my uncle. And, I was that 6-year-old kid that tagged along on the rabbit hunts, and I got to carry the rabbits. But, he taught me everything I know about the outdoors. And unfortunately, he passed away at a young age. He had some mental health issues, and, my uncle took his own life. And I work in law enforcement. So anytime something like that happens in law enforcement, of course, we are very lucky to have, the mental health people in our line of work. There's always someone to talk to. So I started talking to someone, and I was telling them about my uncle's life and how cool of a guy he was. And they were like, Bill, you need to write his story. So that's how my series, Twins of Prey, got started. Twins of Prey is fiction, but there is a main character named Uncle. And the Uncle character is based directly on my Uncle Tom. And it was my way of, paying tribute to the man, and also my way of grieving and healing through the stories that rounded out his life. Now, of course, there's some artistic liberties in the series when it comes to Uncle, but it's a fantastic series. It's a trilogy. It takes place in the woods of northern Michigan. There's lots of hunting techniques and hunting stories and hunting action and trapping and gardening and farming and prepping and sustainability. It's all the things that I'm into, wrapped into a thriller story about two twin boys who are raised off the grid by their uncle. They're raised away from society. They don't need the world. They're taught to hunt and fish and trap and garden. And if the world would leave them alone after Uncle's death, they would be perfectly fine. But they're 14-year-old boys living in the woods, and the world won't leave them alone. So when changing lives is not an option, the twins begin to take lives. And that's basically, it's nature versus nurture, but does that matter when life and death is on the line? And that's what the whole trilogy is about. And it's been an Amazon bestseller. It's been read, it's been read by a lot of hunting professionals and celebrities, and I've been told multiple times that if you spend any time in camouflage, you need to read this book. And there's 3 of them.
Wow. I'm sitting here going, I think I'm going to go visit Amazon.
Yeah, and you start at WCHoffman.com. There's links to all my books. You can go right to Amazon. If you go into Amazon and you search W.C. Hoffman, or you put in Twins of Prey, the ebooks are there, the paperbacks are there, as well as the audiobooks are there. I know a lot of podcast listeners, they like the audio format, and you can get all of my books on audiobook as well.
Well done. Let's talk about Hoffman Hunting Heritage and why you have that podcast and how people can listen to it.
Yeah, well, originally I started the podcast just as a way, let's just call it what it is, promotion for my writing career. And, as far as the outdoors goes, but I found out I really, really enjoy podcasting and talking about the outdoors. Hoffman's Hunting Heritage, of course, there's some alliteration there. It was a good title. But it is more so, I do some how-to type episodes, but it's more about the heritage of hunting. And, when I have guests on, I like to talk up to them about what got them into hunting. I end every episode with asking my guests to tell me, I always say, this is what I say, Bruce. I say, you and me have a nice cocktail. We're at hunting camp. We had a great hunt. We're sitting by the campfire, and it's story time. This is your go-to outdoors story. This is the story you're going to tell everyone at hunting camp. And I say, go. And then I shut the heck up because everyone's got that go. Everyone's got that go-to story, and I really like to capture that, and it's been very successful with my listeners. I do one show a week. They can be found on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play. You can just search Hoffman's Hunting Heritage. It'll come right up. And, I've been really blessed to work with some great companies that are sponsoring the show, and it's just a way for me to, get to meet a lot of people, and I'm learning too. And I'm sure, Bruce, you've had over 300 guests. I mean, how much have you learned from your guests when they call in? Isn't it great to talk to people?
It's simply amazing. And a sidebar in that, I just came back from ATA, and it was I can't use the word thrilling. Help with rewarding. I that's the best word I can come up with. Rewarding to be walking the aisles, and I had my logo shirt on, Whitetail Rendezvous, and I had a little my business card in the band around my cowboy hat, and to have people come up and say, Whitetail Rendezvous, you're Bruce, and hugs and handshakes and smiles, and for me, that was tremendous affirmation, if you will, that I'm doing something right in the industry. I'm doing what I enjoy, and to see the happiness from them, I don't know what else to say, Bill.
Yeah, and it's not even about the big names. I mean, yes, I've talked to Travis T-Bone Turner, and I've talked to Ted Nugent, and I mean, you drop those big names, but for me, it's when you're walking down the aisle, and it's the guy that he's an archery tech behind the counter tuning bows, or it's the guy at the gas station who's got a Realtree logo on his truck, and I'm pumping gas, and I got my logo on my truck. He's like, "Hey, I listen to your show." It's those moments that are you realize that it makes it worthwhile, and I think you said the right word. Being involved in this industry, you learn how big it is, but you also learn really how small it is and what a community we have. And I really dig that sense of community. And the word you used was perfect, Bruce. You said rewarding, and it is 100% that.
Thank you for that. When I look at what we do in the industry, just help somebody understand if they want to do a podcast. Let's stay right there. If they want to do that and be creative, because I would love to get an email or text message or a Facebook message or Twitter, Instagram, wherever, to say, hey, I just listened to you and Bill's show, and I decided to take the plunge, and I'm going to create X, whatever X is, just because they heard this conversation. So give a little, take a minute or two and give some suggestions to somebody who has that desire and just needs to be pushed over, over the line or off the cliff or whatever.
Absolutely. This actually happens to me a lot in my writing world. People are, I've always wanted to write a book, or, and so I think the parallels to podcasts. I've always wanted to do a podcast. I think they're there. And I think I have a 1, 2, 3 approach to this. I think the first approach is to know your why. And I kind of say a lot, know your why. Why do you want to do this? Is it because you want to make a bunch of money and get rich? Well, that's not going to happen in podcasting. Is it about because you want to, talk to people that you don't necessarily would have the chance to? You want to be entertaining. You want to learn from people just as much as you want to teach them. That's a great why. And of course, this is my opinion. But knowing your why, okay, is it should come before the knowing your how. And then the knowing your how, the how aspect is, well, that's why people like you and me, that's where we can help, because we know how to do a podcast. We know how to record and edit and post and host and basically all those things. And I am 100% open if someone come to me and they wanted to know that type of stuff. I am going to help them, just like I do with the books. It is the how it happens. And then the third thing, and I honestly, Bruce, I think this is probably the most important, because if you don't have your why or your how, you can actually make up with it with this third thing, and that is put your butt in the chair. And I'm saying but your rear end in your chair at your desk doing the work. You have to do the work. And if it means writing, that means you got to get that first draft done. It's going to be, garbage. It's going to need editing. It's going to need rewrites, but you got to get that first draft done. And I say the podcasting equivalent to that, sir, is you got to do 5 to 10 episodes and before you ever release anything into the world. And that's my opinion. That's where I would start. If you can do a solid 10 episodes, however long your show is, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, if you can do 10 episodes, if you have enough content to cover that, I think that you'll be successful. And depending on what your measure of success is, there's a thing in our business of podcasting called pod fade, which means eventually it becomes work. It's fun, it's exciting, but eventually, you just flew to Indianapolis from Colorado and came back and you're tired and you did all this. Yeah, that was fun, but it's a lot of work too. So, know your why, figure out the how, and then put your butt in the chair and do the time, and you'll be successful.
Well said, folks. I can be reached at whitetailrendezvous@gmail.com, and just reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. But reach out to Bill and I, because we're a couple of guys. We've never met, but we're kin. We're cut from the same cloth, and we're part of this huge outdoor community. But we're on common ground, and I love that. Michael Hyatt shared that with me a long time ago, one of my first 100 shows, and he said, Bruce, it doesn't matter who you are, how big your bank account is, what your job is. When we're sitting around the campfire, when we're playing euchre or cribbage, in the lodge or the cabin, we're all on common ground, and that's how powerful this industry is, because we can come together and be on common ground. And then, as Bill said, he closes the show, it's, okay, tell me your story, and we all have them. And, Bill, this has been a rewarding, I'm still running on the rush from ATA, but you were the perfect first show back, because it just further solidifies what I'm doing. I know my why. I sure as heck know how. I'm not perfect, though, folks. Please. I've made more mistakes than anybody in history because of 300 and some odd shows. But the biggest thing, and I'll just echo this, it's work. To do anything well, to do anything that you're going to create something, whether it's write a book, write a poem, climb a mountain, it doesn't matter. It's going to take the best you. But then, like Bill and I agreed in the warm-up, the best you is the most rewarding thing. Forget the bank account. The best you at the end of the day, at the end of your journey, knowing, and you look back and you gave the best you could possibly do. And Bill, your thoughts, and then we'll close the show.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're going to grow as a person no matter what you do, whether, it's writing, it's podcasting, it's making your own, your YouTube video show. Maybe your goal is to have a TV show, filming, editing. Remember, I talked about, once you develop skills in life, they don't go away. If you learn how to edit film, you might not do it for 5 years, but that doesn't mean you're not an editor. You still have those skills. I'm still a magician, and I think that if you do, if you know your why and your how, and you put the work in, you're going to be a more well-rounded person. Whether that was in your book successful or not, I will challenge and say it was, because there's no way if you did all those things you didn't learn something.
Let's take the last 90 seconds and give a shout out, promo your book again, and then shout outs to whomever you wish, and then we're going to close the show.
Absolutely. And thanks again for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you and be on the Whitetail Rendezvous. But I'm author W.C. W.C. Hoffman. WCHoffman.com is probably the best catch-all. You can find me straight on Amazon. You can buy my books off my website. They come signed to you, shipped to you for free for the same price on Amazon. Or, ebooks, audiobooks, everything, as far as that goes, is available. My newest release, Loose Fletchings, is out right now as you're listening to this. It's nonfiction. It's a great collection of everything I've written in the outdoors. If you've spent a day in camouflage in your life, you need to go to WCHoffman.com and either read or listen to what I have to offer. They are the perfect books for the tree stand, for the duck blind, for the deer blind. I wrote these books because I'm an outdoorsman, and you should read them because you are.
And with that, I just want to thank you, Bill Hoffman, a.k.a. W.C. Hoffman, for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous. And it's just a joy sharing who you are with thousands of listeners across North America. So, again, thank you so much, sir.
No problem. If you ever find your way in Michigan, you've got lunch and a cup of coffee waiting for you, sir, and maybe one of these days we'll hunt Ohio together.
I'd love to do that.
Hey, folks, tune in for the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're going to head to Cleveland, Tennessee. Not Cleveland, Ohio, but Cleveland, Tennessee. And we're going to connect with Eamon Rattler. Now, Eamon is the owner and host of Native Pride Outdoors, and he takes people fishing and hunting throughout the Tennessee hills. He's also going to tell you about his rite of passage. At 9 years old, with the traditional bow, he went and shot his first deer. It's really an interesting story. Tune in. I think you're going to learn something.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.